Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I'm Lunar D8. Why do you think that? Do you think that? Aunt Ava spoke with a coaxing voice, though every now and then there had been whisperings among the relatives that whoever solved the epitaph's riddle might be given the family inheritance. This had been no more than wishful thinking, since such a thing had never been specifically stated. And yet, though she had only read it once, this outsider had already reached that conclusion. How had she come to it? No, that's not the problem. If you solve the epitaph, you can become the next head. She wasn't trying to make it sound like wishful thinking, but an outright fact. So they closed in around Erica, asking why she was so sure. It's fairly common for an extremely rich person to relinquish his or her wealth to the solver of some sort of riddle. Furthermore, Kenzo-san didn't publish this epitaph in a newspaper, but displayed it in his mansion. That means the riddle is directed at the people in this mansion. You're right. Since it's inside the mansion, there's no way for someone who can't enter the mansion to solve it. So that means grandfather has been challenging the people here. Good. Well thought. Just by the simple fact that the epitaph's inside the mansion, it's possible to figure out that much. At first, this Furuto Erica girl seemed to be the fairly silent type, but that apparently wasn't the case. As she grew excited by a challenge to a game of wit, she became much more talkative than I had imagined. I see. Well, it does make sense that an epitaph inside a mansion would be there so the people in the mansion could read it. But can you really be so sure that the one who solves it will be given the headship too? If the treasure gained by solving the riddle were something small, I wouldn't even have considered that. That's right. The hidden gold is worth 20 billion. You might consider that gold itself to be the wealth of the Ushiromiya family. Again, I have to say that she looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur 2, also like Kaoru from Evangelion. Inheriting something like that would be almost as the same as inheriting Ushiromiya family itself. In other words, the riddle of the gold's hiding place buried within the epitaph is nothing less than a way of selecting the de facto successor of the Ushiromiya family. The idea that the one who solved the epitaph would be chosen as successor had been passed around by some of the relatives for a while now. However, since it had never been specifically announced, it was nothing more than an optimistic dream. Thinking this, they decided to abandon all consideration of this point until the details were made clear. Erica had clearly declared that this uncertain point was in fact true. If one of the relatives had said it, people would have thought it to be merely an optimistic dream. However, when this was declared by a complete outsider, those words seemed even more credible. Everyone remained silent for a while, slowly considering what those words implied. Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erica. What do you think, everyone? So sorry to butt in, but my dad's the successor. Finding the gold would be one thing, but that doesn't mean you get to be the head, right? Jessica thought that the treasure hunting part of the epitaph was really fun. However, she couldn't help but let her expression grow bitter once they started talking about the undermining her father's position. By using deductive reasoning based upon my theory, it seems likely that Kenzo-san doesn't want the successor Kraus-san to inherit the position too smoothly. Well, why is that? Becoming the head of the Ushiromi family with all of the vast wealth it entails would mean gaining a great deal of influence in a political sense. So, under normal circumstances, this succession should be overseen rigorously without letting any element of chance creep into the equation. That's right. It happens a lot in those stories about Sengoku military commanders that my husband loves. When there are multiple candidates for the successor, it usually results in an internal squabble. That's right. That's why it's important to clearly specify a successor so you can avoid any trouble. Sometimes there's even a purge of all the competing successors. The Sengoku commander Hideyoshi admired Tokiyoshi Hideyoshi had made his son-in-law Hidaisugu commit seppuku, but it was rumored that he might have done this to make Hideyori, who was his real son and born after Hidaisugu, his true heir. In other words, naming his successor was only a way to make it generally known that a single unique person would be acknowledged by everyone, and a way to remove any chance of another person becoming an opposing candidate. Do you guys say candidate or candidate? Good, that's exactly right. The only purpose for an epitaph like that would be to cast doubt on Krao-san's position as the successor. In other words, if Kinzo-san wanted Krao-san to become the head smoothly, he'd have no reason to go out of his way and display something so dangerous for all to see. That's right. If you spin the chessboard around, you certainly could say that. It would be odd if he handed over the position of the head normally, but only handed over the 20 billion yen in gold to the person who solves the riddle. Kinzo would pass on the title of the family head, but he would only give the 20 billion yen in gold to the person who solved the epitaph. You really couldn't call this passing on the headship in the truest sense. That's how it is. By this theory, we were able to doubt whether Kinzo-san truly acknowledged Krao-san as his successor. Simply by the existence of the epitaph in that place, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, Jessica-san? Well, what the hell? How do you call that reasoning? That's bullshit, it's screwed up. Jessica let her emotions lay bare and glared at Erika. Erika, on the other hand, looked exceedingly calm with an expression that said, well, that's just the truth, right? I see. It looks like table manners aren't the only way this girl is fitting for the Ushiromiya family. It seems she really does match the family, even when it'd be better if she didn't. Okay, to take it easy, Jessica. And Erika, let's leave it at that for now. Well, we can put all this successor stuff to the side for now. Anyway, there's no doubt that it's father's big question for us. Wahaha, it's 20 billion yen, Maria-chan. What do you use it for if you'd found it? Wahaha. Ooh? The Golden Land isn't just gold. It's a sacred place. Uncle Hideyoshi kept trying to force himself to chuckle and improve the mood. Everyone else tried to play along, but Jessica's mood didn't get any better. So, Erika-chan, would you like to have a go at the epitaph's riddle? Yes. My little gray cells are itching to get started. I'd like to start solving as soon as possible. Georgia Nikki smoothly turned the conversation around. Just like the time she'd made everyone laugh in the dining hall, Erika looked around about with gleeful eyes and jumped at the chance. Giggle, giggle, I like it. Well, since Erika seems so interested, let's all try and solve it together, just like last year. I'll make some coffee. Raise your hand if you want some. Not for you, Maria. You won't be able to sleep. Oh, I want to drink black coffee. Don't they get you excited? Riddles like this, I love them. Erika said that and smiled, though she must have known that she'd ticked Jessica off and made the atmosphere sour. She just smiled nonchalantly. See, without even waiting for the crime on October 5th, there's a riddle you can solve. I've tried to solve it many times myself, but you didn't have a clue, so you gave up and stopped thinking, right? It pissed me off, but I don't have a good counter for that. After all, I don't get the epitaph at all. I don't even know what the beloved hometown... You guys say beloved or beloved? Hometown means, much less the parts about the Sweet Fish River and the Key. Or, do you guys say either or either? Thinking that a few more hints would show up if I waited, I kept on waiting and just stopped thinking. Have you figured out an answer of your own? Because I'm about to solve it. But you have outside knowledge, isn't that cheating? Well, what? This is what Burns solved the riddle of the epitaph. But you watched the other worlds. It's like saying you know Anakin's Darth Vader, but you've watched the prequels. Or, again, or vice versa. Whichever one you watch in one order or the other, you're going to know is that Darth Vader was actually Anakin, or that Anakin will become Darth Vader. It's just either order you watch it in, it's going to have some amount of spoiler. You can't be unspoiled for both. I'd expect no less from the Witch of Miracles. If a riddle is solvable, she can solve it without fail, regardless of the difficulty. How many years did it take to solve this one? That's rude. I only fished through a few hundred fragments. Hehehe, you really are terrifying. You aren't going to cheat by suddenly seeing the answer in red or something like that, right? Don't worry. Just like you, I follow the rules as a player. Well, shall we begin? It's cramped here. Why don't we talk over the sea? Okay. Don't get queasy, Battler. What do you mean the sea? Sound of teleportation stuff. I thought the whole world had turned pitch black, and the next moment I was struck by a strange floating sensation. This must be what it feels like to suddenly have the floor drop from under you, sending you into a bottomless pit. Hey, I remember this asset used in Higurashi. Again, you gotta see Hinamizawa or Hinamizawa. When I looked, I saw that the two witches and I had been thrown into a pitch-black universe. In this space, every direction was covered in an endless darkness, and it felt like a limitless expanse filled with countless glittering objects. Some people might have likened it to the depths of an ocean where innumerable sparkling fragments drifted. Whoa. Didn't she tell you not to get queasy? If you want the concept of gravity, just create it yourself, okay? Come on, calm down and look at us. And look at us. Why does this feel like an Evangelion reference? Come on, don't we look like we're just fine? Believe that your feet are on the ground and that you're being controlled by gravity. If you do that, you'll find your equilibrium. Yes, the two witches are standing normally as if their feet were planted on transparent pieces of glass. I'm the only one floating about like someone in a rapidly plummeting elevator. When I saw that they were doing just fine, I started calming down, figuring that there was no need to be scared. Then, just as Lambda Delta said, I gritted my teeth and kept telling myself that there was a place to stand here, and that I had to stay calm. Whoa. Very good. Very good. What's your name? Ushiromiya Battler. Who else do I look like? Okay, you mustn't lose your will, emotions, or form. After all, this is the ocean. If you lose your purpose, you'll fall into the depths of eternity and become a scrap of ocean seaweed. Be careful. I don't get what Lambda Delta's saying, but I should calm down for the time being. It seems that I regain my equilibrium the more I calm down. Gradually, that weird floating feeling like I was falling forever began to disappear. It still felt strange, like trying to stand up straight at the bottom of a deep pool, but it was much better than before. Then, let's begin. Bye.